We'll try it again. This is November 23rd, 2022, and I'm talking to you from Vernon, BC, British Columbia. From Vernon, BC, that's right. So anyway, I downloaded and actually published this thing on Facebook the other day. I've had it for quite a while. It's called Eternal Security by this guy, and he, he makes up a lot of good points about things, and very interesting. Yeah, and when you hear all the different people talking about religion, and religion. I don't know if I have any belief or anything in religion. It's man-made religion. I don't, and because it's gone the way it's a politically correct system that basically runs off the fears and whatever the people have, and people are told and scared into everything. But it is one way of looking at it, I think, is, and I saw this. Someone else did this. It wasn't just me. He said, held out his hands, and he said, "This is a heavenly book." He said, "It's not an earthly book. It's given to people on earth." He said, "That's why it's been ever since it was published, first Bible and whatever. People scrambled for it, and that's why people all over the world have bought books, the Bible, and it's not the only Bible. There's other Bibles too, but there's something to that. That's for sure, because it's a compilation of history, but it's also uh, news, future news in advance, and that's really what it is. Prophetic stuff. I think it's over a third of the Bible is basically prophecy, and much of it has happened. I can't deny it. It's happened, and it is happening, and it is happening the exact way that it was wrote. Now, the people that wrote it, Moses wasn't here when the earth was formed. Moses didn't know anything about that, but he wrote Genesis, and he was directed what to write. And people say, that's not true, he just wrote. No, that is true. I mean, he couldn't write that. And so that is a God-inspired or God-dictated book. And people, the thing is, if people say that they don't believe in God and they don't believe in Jesus Christ and all this stuff, and it's just poo-poo, and religion is just a, opiate of the masses, like the communists say. Well, they all say that about it, but that doesn't change a thing. Nothing. I've decided not long ago, but a while ago, I decided I wasn't going to trust or believe what anybody said. I don't care if it's my son, daughter, friend, brother, sister. No, I don't believe anybody. I listen to them, I guess, and whatever, and hear what they say, but if they say something that, that requires me to believe in what they say. I can't do that anymore. But I can believe and believe in what God has said and what Jesus Christ has said. And there's Bibles, for instance, that are called red letter Bibles that have every word that Jesus said. And that, to me, I should get a Bible like that. And because, you know, the it's he said, "I am the life and the truth and the way," or whatever. I forget how he said it, but, and that is a fact. That this world, everything in the universe, you know, the whole idea that Satan, who's the influencer of it all, you know, influenced this Darwin to come up with evolution. And they can say, well, he didn't have anything to do with that. Well, I think he did, because that's basically what evolution is. It's try to disregard God's creation and the idea that God created everything and that God is supreme and whatever. So, and you know, they can't prove it, and yet every university and school and whatever, and people, they think you're nuts if you say you don't believe in evolution. Well, you know, if you're going to believe in evolution, you really have to have. You're doing it in a sort of a rebellious way, because you're saying, no, God didn't do this, God didn't do that, because that's being rebellious. And I had to drop the mouse. Oh well, could be worse. Could have dropped my pants. The the thing is, in nature, you can't have, I don't know how they cannot avoid just taking a look at nature. I mean, I'm no environmentalist or anything like that. Really, I mean, I grew up on a farm and we had nature all around. We lived with, we lived with nature. We, our food come from nature. Everything came from the farm. The farm was a separate entity, and that was our factory, that was our job, that was our business, and everything came from there, and everything came from the ground, and it had to grow. Now, when you look at, when I've seen some documentary things or whatever on things like the cell, just the cell, how intricate that is. I mean, it blows your mind to see cells forming and making a little machine. Basically, one they found was some kind of a rotary deal, up to 2,000 RPM, rounds per minute, and could stop in a quarter turn and reverse. Now, how do you do that with, the body has a little things in it, I guess, whatever. Some have gears, like a gear. And how can that be? When you get right down to human life and everything else, well, women are better looking than men. Now that sounds like going off on a tangent, but what I'm saying about that is there's a reason for that. Men can be as ugly as goats; it doesn't matter. But women have to be attractive to attract a man to get pregnant, and because man, most young guys at 20 years old don't realize they carry, uh, I don't know how many sperm, but there's lots, I guess. And each sperm itself has a built-in uh, program to produce another human being. And they don't know that. They just get horny hots or whatever for a good-looking woman or girl or whatever, and they don't care about it. They just want to get at it, and they don't know. They're not thinking about the actual fact of what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and what's going to be the result. They're not thinking about that. But to get men to do it and to get women to do it, it has to be built in. The woman carries a little pad every 28 days. She drops the pad into her uterus, and the pad there is, I don't know how big it is, but it's an egg, egg of some kind, with all the nutrients required to start a human being if it's fertilized. Well, they call it fertilized. But the sperm has to punch its way into that egg and deposit its message. And this message is how to replicate and into what? Way above what humans. Humans are just like bystanders with all this happening. And it happens to them and around them, and most of them don't realize what's happening. And it's an amazing thing. Totally amazing. Huh. The idea that I understand is that when the sperm gets into the egg, which drops once every 28 days, that it buries into it and deposits its, program or its message or its information or whatever you call it. And then in the humans area, that the idea is that when that happens, that's the start of procreation. And at that same time, it's said that God gives it a human spirit that separates it from the animals. Now, this human spirit comes from God automatically, I guess, at the same time as the sperm. Or right after the sperm, or when the sperm is in there. And that human spirit, it could be, has information in it too. Now, because what it says is when you die, your body stops, and the life you have in your body stops. And the spirit that God gave you when you were created, and when you were first, when you were first created, I guess, or whatever, that spirit returns to God who gave it. God is in control of that. And all that spirit has, most likely, is every bit of information that is needed, that God needs to know everything about you, every history of you, everything you ever did. And because I don't know what it all is, but it does. That's exactly what the Bible says it's going to do. God is going to, that when you die, that your human spirit goes back to God. Your body doesn't go anywhere. Your body stays here on earth. And it will be resurrected on earth. If you and I are lucky enough to be in the first resurrection, then we're really lucky. But, you know, I heard the other day they were talking about, you know, how many people die every day. Basically, they said that one person dies every 2 seconds. So you slow count to 2, that's 1. Another slow count to 3, that's 2. And that's quite a few when you start figuring it out. I guess it works out to thousands and thousands in an hour. And, you know, because the people are born, the population does increase, so there's still more people being born than are dying. But I think it's slowing down right now, I would think. Especially, well, one of the reasons is abortion, I guess, worldwide. Millions of people in Canada have been aborted. Millions, many millions have been aborted in the United States. Millions. Killed. Just killed. And when Isaiah wrote in the Bible 1,000 years ago, he said when good is promoted as evil, and evil is promoted as being good, so that's when you know you're in the last days of this planet, or this civilization, or whatever. And that's exactly where we are. We're heading right into that. And everything, I mean, the things that I grew up with when I was, I'd say, 20 years old or something, totally different than now. Absolutely, totally. It's sad. Now, getting back to this guy who writes about eternal security, it's fairly worth reading. I can't really go there right now, but it's well, I think if you looked up eternal security or whatever, it'd come up pretty fast. And it's pretty interesting, and he's got, you know, several pages on it, and broken down to many different topics. And he's not a preacher or anything. He's a PhD, who study our rights about things. And this is one of his main deals. And I sort of appreciated that because I don't know, he's 100% right about everything, but basically what he says is that, you know, you can't be saved once or by God or Jesus and then lose it. You have to really be. If you sin against the Holy Spirit, I guess that could be one way you can lose it. Yeah, and I don't know. That's getting pretty deep for me anyway. All the points that makes is good points. I mean, they're pretty hard to counter. You know, it takes a certain amount of faith to believe it, but Well, I know the very simple thing is that most people, even doesn't matter religious or not, they think that if they're a good person, once they get to be like 25, 30 years old, they start thinking that if they're a good person, they're gonna, they're gonna be rewarded. And women, there's a lot of women think that, if we do good things and whatever. Not all men are like that, but the thing is that doesn't count. It just doesn't count. You can be as good and go to church 50 times a week, tithe all you like. Not going to make any difference. God says, do you believe that I sent my son to earth to die for you? And do you believe that Jesus Christ came to this earth as directly from me, the God? I planted seed in this woman's womb, and he became a man, and he never broke any laws, kept God's laws all the time, never sinned. And, sin is breaking the law. That's basically what it is. And the law says, God's law says, if you break the law, the penalty is death. Period. So he had to save the human race, or the ones who would believe out of the human race, he had to uh, allow his own son to be crucified and killed. Now his son is also God. Like, that's God business is a little tricky to understand. I know that because I have a little trouble with it. But it seems to me like God is three entities in one. That God is so huge and great and whatever that he's like more than one kind. He's the Spirit, the great Spirit. Jesus is the spokesman. And he's always been the spokesman. And he's always been with God. And he was God. But he was the one who was the active one. And he did the building of everything. He created everything. He was on earth in many different forms, sometimes as one of Melchizedek, King Melchizedek, or I don't know, yeah, I guess he was a king or something, of Jerusalem. And it always makes me kind of laugh. Here's Jesus as Melchizedek, as at that time they said he had no mother and no father, and he was, I don't know why they said that or how but I mean, I believe that was him in a different form. And he was king of Jerusalem. Now, uh, he's called the Prince of Peace. And he's called different things. Jerusalem is, Jeru is, in their language, is a city or place or a area of some kind. And Salem is peace. So Jerusalem is the city of peace. And Melchizedek was the king of peace, the city of peace. I guess that's why he's always paid attention to Jerusalem. and it's been a, it's just a city in the world, but it'll end up being the most important city in the world. Ah, man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. The yeah. So if you want something to kind of chew on a bit, look up eternal security. Okay, that's all for now. Bye now.